Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Aline McNall, and I'm the Senior Legislative Representative at IEEE-USA. I'll be giving today's legislative update. And feel free to ask questions in the chat, and I will attempt to answer them probably at the end, but I certainly welcome questions from anyone of you who wish to ask them. We seem to be having some technical difficulties. So in good news, the Senate and House have both passed the CHIPS Plus Act. This bill has been a priority for IEEE-USA for a number of years now, and we were incredibly proud to watch it pass and thankful to the House and Senate staff who worked on this bill for oh so long. We were particularly pleased that the NSF Tech Directorate was able to be included. That would be a $20 billion investment. The NSF core activities was a $61 billion investment, which is an increase of $16 billion. The regional tech hubs were also an IEEE priority for this bill and this package, and we were pleased that they were included. That is a $10 billion investment, and what it does is it creates 20 geographically distributed tech hubs throughout the United States, focused on job creation and tech development, as well as expanding innovation and capacity for the United States. The NIST research program in the bill was reauthorized at $6.9 billion, which is an increase of $2.8 billion. And then NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program was $2.3 billion reauthorized, and that's an increase of $1.5 billion. NIST Manufacturing USA programs were also included at a $829 million authorization, which is actually a really large increase, $744 million increase. So overall, the CHIPS bill itself included emergency appropriations for the semiconductor section, the CHIPS bill, and then the rest of the bill is actually an authorization. So those aren't real dollars, but the CHIPS money is real dollars. So for those of you interested in contacting your member of Congress, IEEE would certainly encourage you to do so. And for any of you who have questions about doing that, certainly happy to answer those, and certainly on or offline. The government relations staff do meetings with House and Senate members quite often, and we certainly encourage our members to advocate with their representatives for the highest appropriated possible dollar values for some of these programs that were in this authorization bill. Very, very pleased to see it pass and looking forward to working with Congress as these programs get implemented. In other good news, I forgot to include this on the slides, but the OSTP director nominee passed the Senate committee, and so we are hoping that Dr. Arati Prabhakar will become nominated by the full Senate and can begin her role as OSTP director. Moving on to NDAA, also known as the National Defense Reauthorization Bill. I wanted to touch base on a couple of different provisions in this legislation and just note that Congress is in recess for the month of August, but the negotiations for the Defense Reauthorization Bill will move forward and into the fall. And IEEE looks forward to working with Congress to ensure as much of the tech provisions and the research provisions can be included in this final bill as it passes through Congress. So currently, the provisions in the NDAA encourage the DoD to examine risk and research in their research portfolio. There's an independent assessment of software cybersecurity. There's an innovation program about biomanufacturing and next generation chemicals and materials. Biotech was certainly a big piece of this, the research provisions in the bill. The biotech industrial base and biotech supply chain certainly came up in a lot of the different provisions. The bill does look at new navigation systems, particularly in light of discussions about GPS technology and what would happen if, say, an adversary or a different entity were to hack into our GPS system. And so the bill does increase investments in position, navigation, timing capabilities, as well as encourage new industry and university partnerships in position, navigation, and timing kind of research areas. There is some in the bill about novel vehicle technology. In terms of electric vehicles, that's an issue that IEEE cares about. And in that space, there's some provisions about battery types and chemistry, as well as other battery tech provisions. So we'll be following these amendments and these provisions as the bill moves forward, and look forward to working with the House and Senate Armed Services Committee in particular, but also the other committees on the Hill as folks look to pass this bill. It is a must pass, so we're looking at a fall timeline for that. Some kind of comparisons between, so the House and the Senate have both released their bill text. So some of the provisions in the House bill that we're focused on include the hypersonics facilities capabilities and hypersonics advanced manufacturing. There's a report on the assessment of airborne electric attack capabilities. The House bill establishes a strategy for autonomy integration in terms of weapon systems. There's a bit on machine learning, as well as the research security side of things for those in academia. The House bill looks at training requirements for federal research grants. In terms of the Senate, there's an advanced sensor application program, as well as some prototype projects that we're looking into. The electromagnetic warfare technology provisions were positive, and we're looking forward to hoping that those end up in the final package. Government industry working group on microelectronics. That was something we were impressed with, and certainly hope also ends up in the final package. And then novel processing for future defense applications, radio access in terms of a 5G provision, and then a pilot program to facilitate the development of electric vehicles for warfighting. Electric vehicles is certainly an issue that spans many of our policy committees at IEEE, and so we're hopeful that those electric vehicle provisions end up in the final bill as well. In terms of defense appropriations, so the House and Senate are negotiating appropriations in a number of areas. As I mentioned in previous legislative updates, the House has released their bills, and the Senate did as well. So these numbers on the screen are certainly for the House. And so looking at the research, development, test, and evaluation budget, the House did put in a 10.4% increase. But in terms of the budget kind of subcategories of that, we're looking at a 6% decrease in the 6.1 budget, which is certainly a budget area that many of our members care about. The 6.2 is a 4.9% decrease. The 6.3 budget, which is a little bit more advanced research, is a 0.7% decrease. And then the overall DoD science and technology was a 3% decrease. So IEEE is thrilled that the House members did put in such an increase for the full research, development, technology, and evaluation budget. But we are hopeful that the 6.1 budget in particular, but also the other 6.2 and 6.3 could be increased a bit in a final appropriations bill. We were very pleased with the energy appropriations bills. Some of the areas that saw particular increases include energy efficiency and renewable energy, the Office of Electricity, cybersecurity within Department of Energy, as well as ARPA-E, and then clean energy demonstration projects were very, very emphasized in the appropriations bills and saw huge increases. So again, we're looking forward to working with appropriators to make sure that particularly some of these programs end up with particularly strong funding in a final package. We were very pleased with the NIST appropriations, NSF a little bit lower than NIST, but in terms of NIST, since so many of the president's priorities and so many of congressional priorities in terms of, in particular, cybersecurity, but also manufacturing, so NIST did see actually a significant and substantial increase in the appropriations bills for FY23. Scientific and technical research services, so a 12% increase in the House and a 15% increase in the Senate. Industrial technical services was increased 32% in the House and 55% in the Senate. And then construction of research facilities was 42% increased in the House and 120% increased in the Senate. We were particularly pleased with the construction numbers as well as the scientific and technical research services. NIST has faced a maintenance backlog that is significant and has faced that backlog for quite some time. And even with folks working from home and not necessarily needing to come into the office so much, IEEE pushes strongly for for that maintenance backlog to be reduced. And so we're very pleased with these appropriations numbers in the House and the Senate for NIST. Overall, the NSF saw slightly less positive increases, but the House did increase the overall NSF budget by 9%, and the Senate increased it by 17%. So we were incredibly pleased with that as well, particularly in light of the CHIPS Act. We're hopeful that the appropriators can now put in as many dollars as possible for some of these key agencies so that research and development can move forward and America can maintain its innovation and competitiveness advantage. Space appropriations is another area, of course, that IEEE follows closely. The Space Technology Directorate increased 14% in the House and 15% in the Senate. So that is one very positive area. Aeronautics increased 8% in the House and 10% in the Senate. And then the NASA Science Division increased 4% in the House and 6% in the Senate. So whereas a lot of university NASA programs fall into the NASA science budget, we were pleased with the other two, with the space technology increases and the aeronautical increases in general, and are hopeful that NASA can receive the funding it needs to send folks into space and to work on our space collaborations. In terms of some space issues that have come up recently, many of you are, of course, aware that Roscosmos decided to withdraw from the ISS. So whereas the U.S. had committed to a 2030 timeline for the International Space Station, with Roscosmos' withdrawal, obviously the U.S., NASA, and other entities, JAXA and the Canadian Space Agency, as well as ESA, are all negotiating now. And many questions remain about things relating to nuclear power, but also crew transport and other technical capabilities for the future of the International Space Station. And we hope that IEEE members, in particular in the commercial space sector, can kind of help fill some of these gaps. The discussions with the commercial space community have always been ongoing, and there's always been a push to replace the International Space Station with a commercial entity in low Earth orbit. And that's those discussions have certainly increased in the last few weeks, but in particular because of the Roscosmos withdrawal. We are in positive news looking forward to the Artemis launch. The current tentative launch date for Artemis 1 is August 29th, so we're waiting to see that. It will be the first Space Launch System launch and the first Orion flight, and it's the first uncrewed test flight for this program. So we're very much excited for the program to move forward and look forward to supporting NASA and advocating for the NASA budget that this program requires. So that ends my legislative update for today. The next legislative update will be August 18th. And for now, I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you have. Feel free to comment in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. If anyone has any questions, okay. Let's see. If anyone has any questions, feel free to comment in the chat. For those of you not watching live, I also answer questions via email, and my email is a.mcnall@ieee.org. So I'm happy to answer questions or comments that way as well. Seeing none, I think we will close this legislative update, and I wish you all a good 2 weeks, and I will see you all on August 18th.
With the advancement in new technology, the landscape for power systems is changing very rapidly. Information technology has really made a huge difference in enabling some of the things that we work on. I've been able to leverage IEEE-USA to be in the leading edge of my industry. IEEE is all about a sense of community. I am learning ideas and concepts and thinking completely out of the box. IEEE-USA is my competitive edge.